Back everyone to the Wedge 52 Gridiron podcast. I'm your host Wedge. Today's episode will be the Week 17 league-wide recap. Before we jump in, please make sure you press that follow button right here on Spotify, as well as check out the Instagram at Wedge52Gridiron and the newly created Twitter/X at Wedge52Gridiron as well for continuous updates on Wedge52 Gridiron, the NFL, and the Baltimore Ravens. In today's episode, we will be covering the Week 17 recap. Then we move into the final regular season power rankings of the season, and then announce the Week 17 him performance of the week before moving into the MVP rankings / my MVP vote. And then we'll head into a Week 18 preview as 1 week remains in the NFL regular season, and I will make my Week 18 picks. Jumping in today with last week's Thursday Night Football matchup, the Cleveland Browns beat the Jets 37-20. Trevor Siemian went 32 out of 45, 261 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Breece Hall continued to be dynamic with 13 rushes for 84 yards and 9 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. And Garrett Wilson had 5 catches for 50 yards. I believe Garrett Wilson has gone over 1,000 yards receiving with a carousel of quarterbacks for the Jets this season. So that's, pretty nice for Garrett Wilson. Kind of shows, that he's capable of. Obviously, we saw him with a very, very productive rookie year. I believe he was Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, but was still able to continue, that success as much as possible with the revolving door of quarterbacks up there in New York this season. And then for the Cleveland Browns, Joe Flacco went 19 for 29, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Our running back Jerome Ford, 12 carries for 64 yards, as well as 2 catches for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. David Njoku, 6 catches for 134 yards. He had a big month of December. And Elijah Moore, 5 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. And then defensively, Sion Takitaki, a linebacker for Cleveland, had 16 tackles on the day. Pretty impressive. Moving into the Cowboys and Lions Saturday Night Football matchup, the Cowboys took down Lions 20-19 in a controversial ending where, the referees called a failure to report by Lions tackle Taylor Decker, who ended up catching the first 2-point conversion that the Lions attempted at the end of the ballgame with 20 seconds or so remaining for the win. He was ruled ineligible. There's been footage of him, going up to the referees. At the end of the day, he was ruled ineligible. The Lions went for it again, did not get it. Michael Parsons was offsides, from on that second attempt. So the Lions got a third attempt from about the 3.5-4 yard line and chose to go for it a third time in a row. I don't think you go for that 2-point conversion 3 times in a row. Once, maybe twice. Okay, if you feel confident in a play that you have, but 3 times in a row, not liking the odds there. I think the Lions should have kicked it. They ended up missing the 2-point conversion on that one and lost the game 20-19. Jared Goff went 19 out of 34, 271 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. David Montgomery, 14 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. And rookie tight end Sam Laporta, 7 catches for 84 yards. On the winning side for the Cowboys, Dak Prescott went 26 out of 38, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. CeeDee Lamb went absolutely bonkers. 13 catches for 227 yards and a touchdown. Breaking both the receptions and yards in a single season by a Cowboys wide receiver franchise records. Broke both of them in one night. Arguably, potentially, the best wide receiver season for a Cowboy in history, considering the, great wide receivers that have, played for Dallas. That is very impressive for CeeDee Lamb, who has continued to grow all of his numbers, receptions, yards, and touchdowns. All 4 years he's been in the league. So congrats to CeeDee Lamb on an incredible season. Obviously, the Cowboys aren't done. Cowboys have clinched a playoff spot at the moment. and have, obviously the Week 18 matchup. And then, other than CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks has 5 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown on the day in Dallas. Moving into Baltimore versus the Miami Dolphins at M&T Bank Stadium. The Baltimore Ravens won that one 56-19. Absolutely drowning out the Dolphins in, Baltimore in classic Lamar Jackson fashion, classic defensive statement fashion against, one of the top offenses. After beating the 49ers by big digits, they turned around and beat Miami on big digits on the slightly shorter week. Right after that, so impressive win by the Baltimore Ravens. Tua Tagovailoa, 22 out of 38, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Devon Achane, 14 carries for 107 yards, and then Tyreek Hill, 6 catches for 76 yards. On the other side, for those Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, 18 out of 21, 321 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, a perfect 158.3 completion, perfect passer rating, 158.3 perfect passer rating. His third of his career, first of the year, as well as 6 rushes for 35 yards. Gus the Bus had 16 rushes for 68 yards and a touchdown. And rookie wide receiver Zay Flowers, 3 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. If you want the full breakdown on the Ravens versus Dolphins matchup, please check out yesterday's episode right here on the Wedge 52 Gridiron. Moving into the Titans and Texans. The Texans won that one 26-3. Ryan Tannehill went 16 out of 20, 168 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Derrick Henry had 12 carries for 42 yards, and DeAndre Hopkins had 7 catches for 72 yards. Rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud was back in action for the Texans after missing the previous 2 weeks with a concussion, where he went 24 for 32, 213 yards, and a touchdown. Devin Singletary had 16 rushes for 80 yards. Nico Collins had 7 catches for 80 yards. And that Texans defense played very, very well. 6 sacks, as well as forcing the Titans to go 1 for 12 on third down. And so Texans definitely looking better with the return of C.J. Stroud. See if they can, find a way into the playoffs, and see if they can make something happen down there in Houston. Moving to the Bills and Patriots. Bills won that one 27-21. Bailey Zappi went 16 out of 26, 209 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, as well as 5 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott had 14 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown. And then Jalen Reagor had a 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown for the New England Patriots, who almost, knocked the Bills back, almost beat the Bills, but not quite enough. Josh Allen went 15 out of 30, 169 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, as well as 11 rushes for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tight end Dalton Kincaid, 4 catches for 87 yards. And then defensively, cornerback Rasul Douglas, 2 tackles and 2 interceptions, one of which he returned for a touchdown. Moving into the Rams and Giants. Rams squeaked that one out 26-25 in a game that was probably much closer than they expected it to be. Nonetheless, Rams, got the win. Seattle also lost this week, and the Rams clinched a playoff spot. Tyrod Taylor went 27 out of 41, 319 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, as well as 6 rushes for 40 yards. Saquon Barkley went 12 rushes for 39 yards. And then Darius Slayton had 4 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. Matthew Stafford carried the Rams to that victory, 24 out of 34, 317 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Kyren Williams continued his very, very impressive season. 20 carries for 87 yards and 3 touchdowns. Puka Nacua as well, continuing his very impressive season. 5 catches for 118 yards. Demarcus Robinson, 6 catches for 92 yards. Cooper Kupp, 4 catches for 27 yards and a touchdown. That Rams team is starting to look pretty decent the past month or so. Now that everyone's starting to get healthy, returning back to form. playing with the same guys, that kind of thing. The Rams could potentially sneak in a playoff win or two, especially with Matthew Stafford's, experience, veteran presence. Obviously made the Super Bowl run a few years ago. The Rams could potentially be, an underdog team that wins a game or two in the playoffs. Moving to the 49ers and Commanders. 49ers won 27-10. Sam Howell got the start after being told earlier in the week that Jacoby Brissett would be the starter. Jacoby Brissett injured his hamstring, I believe, Sunday morning, pregame warmups, and Sam Howell had to be the starter. Howell went 17 out of 28, 169 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Scary Terry McLaurin, 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. And then for the 49ers, Brock Purdy, 22 out of 28, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. Elijah Mitchell got majority of the carries with 17 carries for 80 yards. After Christian McCaffrey left the game with an injury, he had 14 carries for 64 yards and 4 catches for 27 yards. Prior to that, does not look serious, but he has been, ruled out for their Week 18 matchup. But the 49ers already have clinched the 1 seed in that NFC conference. And then the pair of wide receivers in San Fran, Brandon Ayuk, 7 catches for 114 yards and a touchdown, and Deebo Samuel, 5 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown. The Arizona Cardinals upset the Philadelphia Eagles 35-31. Arizona Cardinals, I've been saying it all season long. I doubted on them. On their record doesn't quite show how good of a football team they are. They definitely still have a long ways to go. But I would definitely consider them, the best of the bottom tier teams. Have a couple of big wins against, quality teams. Kept it close, beating the Eagles. The Eagles have some things to figure out. Jalen Hurts went 18 out of 23, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. DeAndre Swift, 13 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 4 catches for 53 yards. And then Julio Jones, 2 catches for 34 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyler Murray had 25 out of 31, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception, as well as 5 carries for 24 yards. Kyler Murray's been playing very well in his 7 weeks as a starter. And, the coaching staff, in interviews mentioned that Kyler Murray is going to be their guy. There's a lot of questions around Kyler Murray and, the Cardinals quarterback situation as we approach this offseason. The Cardinals will be approaching that offseason come next Monday after their Sunday Week 18 game. But don't take, Cardinals' word for it, as we saw this past offseason. But, I do think that Kyler Murray is a viable option. I do think Kyler Murray and the Cardinals would both be best off, continuing this, contract. This, obviously Kyler Murray has more options if the Cardinals let him go. But I think the Cardinals, could build surrounding pieces around Kyler better off than resetting with another quarterback. Moving into the Saints and Bucks. First of all, we got to mention James Conner, 26 carries for 128 yards and a touchdown, as well as 1 5-yard receiving touchdown. And the wide receiver Greg Dortch, 7 catches for 82 yards. Now moving into the Saints and Bucks. Saints won that one 23-13. Baker Mayfield went 22 out of 33, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Palmer had 4 for 84 and a touchdown. Chris Godwin had 3 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. And Mike Evans, 3 catches for 70 yards. For the New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr had 24 out of 32 completions, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamal Williams had 19 carries for 58 yards. And Juwan Johnson had 8 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. Moving to the Jaguars and Panthers. Jaguars took care of business 26-0 against the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young went 19 out of 32, 112 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception. Running back Chuba Hubbard, 11 carries for 45 yards, and Adam Thielen, 6 catches for 38 yards. C.J. Beathard got the start after Trevor Lawrence missing, inactive for his first game as an NFL quarterback, but did not make a difference in this matchup. Beathard went 17 out of 24, 178 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions. Travis Etienne, 16 carries for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. Evan Ingram, 6 catches for 60 yards. And then edge rusher Josh Allen, 6 tackles and 3 sacks on the day for the Jaguars, taking care of business against the Carolina Panthers. Moving to the Falcons and Bears. Bears took care of business 37-17. Taylor Heinicke went 10 out of 29, 161 yards, a touchdown and 3 interceptions, as well as 4 rushes for 46 yards and a touchdown. Running back Bijan Robinson, 15 carries for 75 yards. Running back Tyler Algier, 5 carries for 13 yards, as well as a 75-yard receiving touchdown. Justin Fields, 20 out of 32, 268 yards, 1 touchdown and no interceptions, as well as 11 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Running back Khalil Herbert, 18 carries for 124 yards and a touchdown. And then DJ Moore having his best year, career numbers-wise, I think, for receptions and yards, potentially touchdowns as well. 9 catches for 159 yards and a touchdown on an impressive season from DJ Moore. Him and Fields have been, connecting well this season, despite the Bears, struggles. The Colts took care of the Raiders 23-20. Aiden O'Connell, 30 out of 47, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns. Running back Zamir White, 20 carries for 71 yards. Devontae Adams, 13 catches for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Colts, Gardner Minshew, 15 out of 23, 224 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, 21 carries for 96 yards and a touchdown. Then Alec Pierce was the recipient of that touchdown on a 58-yard strike, his only catch of the day. The Steelers, a little bit surprisingly, beat the Seahawks 30-23. Geno Smith went 23 out of 33, 290 yards and a touchdown, as well as 3 carries for 33 yards. Kenneth Walker had 10 carries for 53 yards and a touchdown, as well as 3 catches for 22 yards, as DK Metcalf had 5 catches for 106 yards. Mason Rudolph got the start, and again, 18 out of 24, 274 yards for the Steelers. No touchdowns for him, as the rushing attack took care of most of that. Najee Harris, 27 rushes for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns, and his running mate Jaylen Warren, 13 carries for 75 yards and a touchdown. When they did throw the ball, though, Rudolph found George Pickens 7 times for 131 yards. Moving into the Chargers and Broncos matchup. Broncos won that one 16-9. Easton Stick went 24 out of 38, 220 yards. Austin Eckler, 13 rushes for 46 yards. And wide receiver Alec Erickson, 7 catches for 98 yards. For those Broncos, Jarrett Stidham got the start after the Russell Wilson benching because of future contract guarantees. 20 out of 32, 224 yards and a touchdown. Lil Jordan Humphrey, 2 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown in the Broncos win. Moving into the Chiefs and Bengals. Chiefs took care of business. Looks like potentially getting back on track, at least somewhat. 25-17 victory over the Bengals. Jake Browning went 19 out of 33, 197 yards, 1 touchdown, as well as 7 rushes for 32 yards and a touchdown. Joe Mixon had 21 carries for 65 yards, and Jamar Chase had 3 catches for 41 yards. Patrick Mahomes had 21 out of 29 completions, 245 yards, a touchdown. And then Isaiah Pacheco, 18 carries for 130 yards, as well as 7 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown. And rookie wide receiver Rashee Rice continuing to impress, 5 catches for 127 yards in the victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. And then the last matchup of Week 17, Sunday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers beat the Vikings 33-10. Jaren Hall got the start. He went 5 for 10, 67 yards and an interception. He was benched at halftime, where they brought in Nick Mullins, who was benched, during practice week for Jaren Hall. He went 13 out of 22, 113 yards and a touchdown. Not sure why Josh Dobbs didn't get a shot. Hasn't been getting a shot the past few weeks. I don't think Dobbs played that horrendous. should deserve to be benched for the entire season. Yes, I believe he had 4 picks in the game. I think maybe 2 of those were directly his fault. Dobbs had an impressive season with both the Cardinals and Vikings. Not sure, the strict benching that Joshua Dobbs received in this last few weeks here for the Minnesota Vikings. But in other words, Justin Jefferson, 5 catches for 59 yards. And then for the Green Bay Packers, who are clicking on all single cylinders, Jordan Love, 24 out of 33, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, as well as 2 rushes for 2 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Jones had 20 carries for 120 yards. Wide receiver Bo Melton, 6 catches for 105 yards. And then rookie wide receiver Jaden Reed, 6 catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Green Bay victory to keep their playoff hopes alive heading into Week 18. That is the full Week 17 recap, which now leaves me into my final power rankings of the 2023 regular season. Next week, I think I'm going to be doing just ranking the playoff teams, as, the NFL playoffs begin. But for the final regular season rankings, Wedge 52 Gridiron Power Rankings, at 32, the Panthers, 31, Jets, 30, Commanders, 29, Patriots, 28, Titans, 27, Chargers, 26, Giants, 25, Cardinals, 24, Falcons, 23, Vikings, 22, Bears, 21, Packers, 20, Bengals, 19, Raiders, 18, Steelers, 17, Colts, 16, Broncos, 15, Saints, 14, Buccaneers, 13, Seahawks, 12, Rams, 11, Eagles, 10, Jaguars, 9, Texans, 8, Cowboys, 7, Dolphins, 6, Lions, 5, Browns, 4, Bills, 3, Chiefs, 2, 49ers, and 1, the Baltimore Ravens. So a little bit of movement in that top 10. Only 3 teams did not move. That's the Ravens, 49ers, and Cowboys. The biggest losers of this week are the Broncos and Dolphins, who both dropped 4 spots. And the biggest riser this week was the Indianapolis Colts, who gained 5 spots. Moving up to week ranking 17 for the Colts, moving up 5. Currently holding the playoff position. See if they can secure it in Week 18. Now we are going to be announcing the Week 17 Him Performance of the Week. Some names, players that were in consideration for winning the Him Performance of the Week 17 include CeeDee Lamb, Lamar Jackson, Kyren Williams, and James Conner. This week's Him Performance of the Week goes to Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. He went 18 out of 21 for 321 yards and 5 touchdowns on a perfect passer rating of 158.3, as well as 6 rushes for 35 yards, putting in his final MVP bid, as he will most likely be sitting out Week 18 against the Steelers, as the Baltimore Ravens have already clinched their playoff spot and number 1 overall seed. Lamar Jackson had a perfect passer rating for his 3rd time in his career, joining only Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Kurt Warner, and Ben Roethlisberger as quarterbacks to have 3 perfect passer rating games in their career. This is Lamar Jackson's 6th season only, and he, not bad for a running back. Pretty quarterbacky of him to do so. Lamar Jackson, congratulations on being the Week 17 Him Performance of the Week winner. Now moving into, MVP power rankings. I'm not going to do them. My MVP vote is quarterback Lamar Jackson. Stay tuned. Make sure you press that follow button on all Wedge 52 Gridiron locations for a special episode coming soon. That's going to come after the Week 18 normal episodes. Ravens episode will be coming out next Tuesday, as usual, and the league-wide episode will be coming out next Wednesday, as usual. But then sometime in between then and first round of playoff recap will be a special episode, Lamar Jackson MVP case. So stay tuned for that. Now heading into the Week 18 preview. The current standings, playoff standings, as they sit in the NFC from 1 through 7. Here is the seeding. 49ers at 1, Cowboys at 2, Lions at 3, Bucks at 4, Eagles at 5, Rams at 6, and Packers at 7 as it sits heading into Week 18. And then the AFC playoff seeding, Ravens at 1, Dolphins at 2, Chiefs at 3, Jaguars at 4, Browns at 5, Bills at 6, and Colts at 7. So definitely a couple of these teams have clinched up, their eligibility. They've clinched the playoffs. They will be in the playoffs no matter what. A couple of those teams have clinched their seeds. Those are being the Ravens and 49ers. I also believe the Browns have clinched the 5 seed, and potentially the Chiefs have clinched the 3 seed, as well as I think the Rams have clinched the 6 seed on the NFC side. That's just off the top of my head. I think that's accurate. But if not, obviously Ravens, Niners for sure. Let's jump on. Let's move forward. Heading up on Saturday, there's 2 matchups in Week 18. Steelers at Ravens. Ravens have clinched. Ravens will potentially sit starters or have very limited reps for some of their key starters and guys who have been dealing with injuries recently to kind of, give them an even extra week to get healthy and, not risk potential injury, new injuries to any players. And the Steelers are starting Mason Rudolph after they've been announced that Kenny Pickett is healthy from that injury, ankle injury, I believe. But they are sticking it out with Mason Rudolph as, they're putting in their final effort to make the 2023 playoffs. Other matchup on Saturday is going to be the Texans at Colts. This game has big implications for the AFC playoff spot, as well as that division. And that division is not clinched. There's many different scenarios between the Jaguars, Texans, and Colts that will determine the winner of that division, as well as if one of those teams can secure a wild card spot. CJ Stroud's back, obviously, like I said last week, going against Gardner Minshew. Both these teams fighting desperately for a playoff spot. The easiest path to that, they'll both need some help in terms of a Jaguars loss, I believe, to guarantee it, obviously, for the division. Texans and Colts both fighting for a playoff spot. Should be an interesting one in Indianapolis. Vikings at Lions this week. Lions have clinched their playoff spot. There's a small chance they can move up in seeding. They need a couple things to happen there. And then the Vikings find themselves in a very interesting spot. Not officially eliminated from the playoffs. Quarterback situation is not ideal. And TJ Hawkinson is out for the season after an ACL injury 2 weeks ago. The Lions handled business against the Vikings 2 weeks ago. I would probably expect similar results in Detroit this week. Falcons at Saints. Both of these teams are eligible for the playoffs. I think for the division title, as I don't think any of that division has, enough record to snag that 7th spot against the Packers or anyone else. But so it's pretty much a division or bust for both of these teams, Falcons and Saints. Should be an interesting one. Should make it a good game. I think the only team out of that division that could potentially win a playoff game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think they, that division is not great. Moving into the Jaguars at Titans. Like I said, Jaguars win this week, and they clinch their playoff spot with the division title. They are playing the Titans, who have struggled all year and are officially eliminated from the playoff race. The Jets at Patriots. Both of these teams are eliminated from the playoffs. Buccaneers at Panthers. The Panthers are eliminated from the playoffs. Buccaneers, like I said, need to win the division, I think, to have any chance at making the playoffs. They can, do that. Easiest way to do that is to win this game against the Carolina Panthers. After a disappointing loss last week to the Saints from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I would think that the Buccaneers, play better football in Week 18 with the playoffs on the line. Next up is the Browns at Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are eliminated from the playoffs, and the Cleveland Browns have clinched their playoff spot. I believe they have clinched the 5 seed. So it'll be interesting to see how many of the Browns, how long the Browns starters play in this matchup with no chance of improving their record, seeding at least, and not really having that, need or desire to knock out the Bengals from the playoffs. They are already knocked out themselves. Seahawks at Cardinals. Cardinals have had an impressive season considering their roster. They are eliminated from the playoffs, though, and the Seattle Seahawks are fighting for that spot to make the playoffs. I believe they only have a chance at the 7 seed, so definitely Seahawks fans will need to keep an eye on that one, as the Arizona Cardinals have played very, very well all season long. Seahawks coming off a loss to the Steelers in a game they probably should have won. Seahawks gave up 200-something rushing yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Arizona Cardinals, James Conner, even Kyler Murray, DeMarcado, and there's one more tailback, I think, for the Cardinals that's been decent. They run the ball well, so it might be a struggle for the Seahawks. They need a win to keep their playoff chances alive. The Bears at Packers. Bears are eliminated from the playoffs, but I'm sure still have that desire to knock the Packers out of the playoff race. Divisional rival there. The Packers and Jordan Love will look to prevent that from happening on an offense that's been, Packers offense has been clicking the past few weeks, especially with the late emergence of Jaden Reed. The Eagles head to New York to play the Giants. The Giants are eliminated from the playoffs. The Eagles have clinched the playoffs, but that division is still open between the Cowboys and Eagles. Both of them have clinched the playoffs. Their seeding will be determined by who is the winner of that division. So the Eagles are definitely looking for a win against the Giants, who they did struggle with a couple weeks ago on Christmas Day, I believe. Heading to the Rams at 49ers. Both of these teams have clinched. I believe both of these teams have clinched their seed. I know that 49ers have, I'm 99% sure the Rams have clinched the 6th seed. So this one, again, will be interesting to see, how many reps and how many starters play that game, considering that, there's really no chance at improvement on playoff seeding. The Broncos at Raiders. Both of these teams are eliminated from the playoffs. Chiefs at Chargers. The Chargers are eliminated from the playoffs. Kansas City Chiefs looking to potentially move up in seeds. Actually, I think they're locked in at the 3 seed. I believe the winner of the Miami Dolphins versus Buffalo Bills game will be the 2 seed. The Chiefs have locked the 3 seed. So really, again, just hoping for a win. I don't think the Chiefs, I wouldn't expect the Chiefs to do anything crazy. I think the Chiefs are looking to have a solid performance, not turn the ball over, be efficient, have the Chiefs, that offense, find the groove that the Chiefs are known for in the Patrick Mahomes era. Moving to the Cowboys at Commanders. The Commanders are eliminated, and the Cowboys are fighting for that division title again, like I said. Right now, they are currently holding that with the tiebreaker over the Eagles. If the Cowboys win, they win the division. If the Cowboys lose, they need the Eagles to lose to the Giants. Simple as that. Dak Prescott trying to make his final case for the MVP, although I think it's going to be Lamar. But Dak definitely in that conversation. CeeDee Lamb has been absolutely ridiculous this year. I expect that offense to play very well against the Commanders' struggling defense. Then the last game of the 2023 regular season will be the Bills at Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have clinched a playoff spot, so even if they lose, they will still be in the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills' easiest path at the playoffs is a win. I believe if they lose, they need the Pittsburgh Steelers and Texans to lose. And there's some more scenarios. If they lose, I think they need 3 things to happen. If they win, they're in at the 2 seed. So definitely going to be a showdown in Miami between the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins for that 2 seed and division title. Week 18, going to be an interesting one. A lot of teams, fighting for their playoff hopes in the 2023 postseason. Those are my quick thoughts on Week 18. All those off the top of my head. Thoughts, nothing prepared really there. Only thing left for me now in this episode is to make my Week 18 picks. In Week 17, I had a record of 11-5, improving my season record to 164-92 for a 641 win percentage. Here is my Week 18 picks. Ravens over Steelers, Texans over Colts, Lions over Vikings, Saints over Falcons, Jaguars over Titans, Jets over Patriots, Buccaneers over Panthers, Browns over Bengals, Seahawks over Cardinals, Bears over Packers, Eagles over Giants, 49ers over Rams, Raiders over Broncos, Chiefs over Chargers, Cowboys over Commanders, and Dolphins over Bills. That's all I have for this episode of the Wedge 52 Gridiron Podcast. If you made it this far, thank you all so much for listening. Like I said, please press that follow button right here on Spotify as well as on Instagram, and check out the newly created Twitter/X, where I will intend to be, more thoughts, opinions, up-to-date news and, opinions, things that come up, during, rather than just the 2 weekly episodes. That one, follow up over there, the new platform. Other than that, thank you all for listening once again, and go Ravens.